any person in the entire world is able to have their funds be to them, and they don't need to rely on any third-party services in the entire world. It's just on you, baby.
What does it mean to take responsibility of your own money in the digital age? How do you design a user-friendly Bitcoin wallet? These are some of the topics that we explore with the Blockstream Jade product and marketing team. We hope you enjoy, and as a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only. None of what is said here should be construed as financial or investment advice. Lynn and Israel are partners at Base Layer Advisors, where they employ their strong network of venture capital partners and startups to connect investors with unique opportunities within the Bitcoin innovation space. Alongside this, they support founders with their strategic growth and fundraising goals. Visit our website's advisory section to learn more. Welcome to Build with Bitcoin. I'm co-host Israel Munoz and joined with co-host Lynn Bairstow. Today we welcome Rich and Drew from the Blockstream Jade Plus hardware wallet team. Rich and Drew, before we get into anything, welcome and thanks for coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us. This should be fun.
Yeah, this is a little different episode for us. So we are going to be talking about a very specific product, the Jade Plus, which is a hardware wallet, signing device, and but made by Blockstream. But the reason we did this is we wanted to explore self-custody and why that is so important in the Bitcoin space, and also take a look at an example of one of the best hardware device suppliers, which is Blockstream, along with their other suite of products that they have. And so we thought it'd be a great example to introduce a brand new product in the space, talk about how it was developed, and also talk about the importance of some of the features. So this is a great way to do a deep dive into an important topic. Israel and I both feel that everybody should definitely explore self-custody as a way of holding their Bitcoin. So Rich and Drew, welcome. I think a great place to start would be for each of you to introduce yourself and what your role is on the Blockstream Jade Plus team. And we also love to hear about how you first became introduced to Bitcoin and why it's important to you personally.
All right. Hi, I'm Drew. I run the store here at Blockstream. And then I'm just a general marketer behind the scenes. Rich and I work very closely on the Jade, and so we're best of buds. But how I got introduced to Bitcoin was 2017 classic, the run up to 20, where a lot of people's first intro was in that time. Classic, the story is old as time. I got into Bitcoin. I started trading cryptos. I got rugged on everything and I lost it all. Oh, I'm a part of that statistic. And so just over time, you make all the money and then you lose it all and you're like, well, this is stupid. And then you're like, there's got to be something here still. And then just over time, I started to just only focus on Bitcoin. And then I started to really like Bitcoin. And then I learned why Bitcoin, and then, Bitcoin only. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. Hey guys, Rich here. I'm the Jade product manager over at Blockstream. So it's been spending the last year and a half or so working on Jade Plus, getting this next iteration of the hardware out. It's been a ton of fun. Yeah, again, work with Drew to make sure the launch went smoothly, marketing went well, did some awesome partnerships. So yeah, been a busy, fun year. I got into Bitcoin back in 2017-ish as well, around the same time as Drew was saying. Similar story, you see Bitcoin price in the news, and it seems, what is this thing being hyped up to everybody? What's the deal? Why is this all over the place? Looking into it, look into all the different coins, and some say they're the next Bitcoin or the next big crypto, and trying to go through that and learn what exactly was the technology behind it. Naturally curious, so wanted to set up a node and start mining with a S1 ant miner that was making zero money, but just wanted to get into the details of it and see how these things function. And so really just went from there, started building off, focused, again, Bitcoin only, realized why it's important, why it's different from everything else, and eventually found myself wanting to get into Bitcoin as a career. So applied to every job I could find in the space, and was lucky enough to end up at pretty much my dream company, dream job here working on Jade. So it's been a fun ride.
Well, congratulations to the both of you, because Blockstream is definitely one of the top innovators and companies in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So we're of course big proponents and fans of all the work that Blockstream does. One of the verticals is of course Jade Plus, which we'll get into. So maybe just start off the conversation, Rich and Drew, and thank you for sharing your background there. We all end up going through our exploratory phase of cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, and then eventually fall on this specific importance of Bitcoin. We don't need to get into those details, but one of the main benefits that Bitcoin provides is being able to take self-custody of your money, right? So you don't need to rely on third parties in order to transact and transfer value from one peer to the other peer. That's truly what the origins of the Bitcoin innovation were. So here we are, it's 2025. There's so many different options that people hear about as far as ways to get exposure to Bitcoin. So for newcomers into the space, they might be hearing about Bitcoin through their traditional brokerage, whatever other means as far as getting price exposure to Bitcoin. But here's where I think, before we get into Jade Plus specifically, it'd be great to just lay the groundwork. What, in your views, is the importance of self custody, or why should people be thinking about self custody as opposed to having it through some sort of broker or other vehicle?
Sure. So self-custody is important. We'll just start there. But let's go into why. So when people hear about Bitcoin, they'll hear that Bitcoin is digital gold. And that's just like some hand wavy stuff. But what they're talking about is that gold is it's a low inflation rate and you can self-custody gold. People have been self-custodying gold for thousands of years, 5,000 years so far now. And now the flaw with gold is that either you're storing that gold under your bed or in a bank. You can't, and you have to physically transport it. There's no, send it over the internet. And that's where Bitcoin comes in. So now with Bitcoin, you have an extremely low, and it will be no inflation rate, and the ability to self-custody still. But now with Bitcoin, you have the technological advancements of computers and the internet and all this stuff where gold can't compete on that level. So now with Bitcoin, you're able to self-custody your wealth, your funds in your brain if you really wanted to. So with self-custodying Bitcoin, you need your keywords, which is 12 or 24 words. As long as you remember those words, or if you write those words down, or if you have other custodian solutions like Multi-Sig, we won't go down that route. But any person in the entire world is able to have their funds be to them, and they don't need to rely on any third-party services in the entire world. It's just on you, baby.
Yeah, and you see some of this with, even very, very recent exchange issues or hacks or mismanagement of funds. Sure, it's nice to trust somebody else with your funds, and in a lot of situations, hopefully that ends up okay. But there's also situations where you're just pushing that responsibility to someone else. And if you're able to be confident in your setup and be confident in your ability to self-custody, then you are the point of failure and not someone else signing a transaction that shouldn't have been signed or something, again, like you've seen recently in the news. So the ability to have that self-responsibility to make sure if anything goes wrong with my funds, it's just on me. And that's maybe good or bad, but it's definitely something where you can control it instead of having someone else be in control of that.
So after the exchanges, that's where most people start out buying it. The other place you can hold your Bitcoin is on a wallet that's on your phone or on your desktop. But that's also connected to the internet, so it has some vulnerabilities. So the Jade Plus is one of a type of device called a hardware wallet, non-custodial hardware wallet, which means no one else is the custody of it. You are the custodian of your funds. Can you explain a little bit about, I think sometimes when we first started with Bitcoin terminology, things like mining is not actually mining, and a wallet isn't actually a wallet. So can you explain exactly what this device is and what it does?
Yeah, it's important to take a step back from all the terminology that doesn't exactly apply one-to-one when you think about it. And so a good way to imagine is, the Bitcoin blockchain is just a really long list of balances. And let's say it's a big room full of safes, and every safe has a label on it that has your funds in it. And so to move those funds, all you're doing is unlocking that safe, taking the Bitcoin out and putting it in someone else's vault. It's their safe. So if I wanted to send Drew money, I get a key, I unlock my vault, and I put the money in Drew's vault. So that key process is where this custody idea comes into play. You can keep that key on your phone, or you can keep your key on something specialized designed solely to protect that key. And so a hot wallet would be connected to its key is stored on your phone. And that's great because it's convenient, but it also has more attack vectors. It's connected to the internet. It's not solely designed to protect that key. And so people usually start there. And then when you're ready to progress, you move to something like a hardware wallet, a Blockstream Jade, which is designed specifically to protect that key that allows you to move your Bitcoin around. So that would be the difference between a mobile and a hardware wallet.
So the Bitcoin is not actually on the device.
Correct. Yes. It only exists on the blockchain. All this does is this is your key, either this or your phone. One of those get to tell you to unlock the Bitcoin and move it somewhere else.
And as far as Jade, the Jade product itself, Rich and Drew, how new is it at Blockstream? And maybe you can give us a very brief just overview of what Blockstream, the company, is, and what the Jade product team is focused on within the organization.
So Blockstream was created in 2014 with a group of really smart people, one including Adam Back, who's our CEO, and he's written in the Bitcoin white paper. They started this in this company to progress Bitcoin in a multitude of facets. So there's a lot of products at Blockstream, whether you want to talk about layer twos, whether you want to talk about hardware wallets and software wallets. I'm pointing at them as I speak. Or if you want to talk about the Blockstream satellite that is beaming around the earth as we speak, beaming down the blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain. Blockstream does a lot, and it's a really cool company, but I'm biased. Jade itself, this is the first iteration of Jade. It came out in 2021, January, and they wanted to release a hardware wallet that would also allow users to store liquid assets, which the Blockstream Jade does. Over the last 3-4 years, the Blockstream Jade has become more popular, and because it's become more popular, people have had requests, let's say, and they come to Rich and I or social media and they say, hey, we want this feature in the Jade. And then that's why we came out with the Jade Plus. We hear a lot of people with requests and we say, that's a great idea. We need a new product for that. And so that's why we came out with the Jade Plus.
So the Jade Plus is considered open source development or design, correct? Can you, and I think in the way of thinking about this in traditional tech, you think of open source as the code is available anywhere. You can double check the code, which makes it less patent protected. But talk to us a little bit about the open source. I'm assuming the open source involves some of the feedback that you had from customers on the original Jade. And how did you manage that process of receiving requests for features or changes in the Jade to implement the Jade Plus, and instead of, we'll drill down into the specific features of the Jade Plus in just a minute, but the process of taking those client requests and incorporating them into an open source product. Can you, probably Rich, you're the man to talk about that?
Of course, yeah. So open source, again, the idea is that you're publishing everything that the Jade or another hardware wallet, if they're open source, is running online. And again, where's the patent stuff in that? Well, the idea is if you can publish all of your code online, people can review it and experts can review it, and they can make sure that this device truly is safe as you claim it to be. If it was closed source, someone could look at the code and maybe there's a vulnerability or a bug that no one caught. So the idea is, again, you get this code published everywhere, people can review it, and if there was an issue, it would be caught much, much faster. If not, it would only be caught if it was open source. And so you look at that, and technically we allow people to DIY a Blockstream Jade. Again, the code is fully open source, so you could buy hardware off the shelf for $10 and make your own wallet. Some people might see that as a failure, but it also allows people to much more accessibly get a hardware wallet to protect their Bitcoin. So lots of reasons why open source is important. Taking in the requests and everything, the process of that, there's a few things that people will just blast you on social media about. For example, when we shipped the Jade Classic, as we're calling it now, we had shipped a camera on it in anticipating that eventually we could enable this feature and make it useful for signing transactions or something. And so we just got hounded. Everyone said, when's the camera going to turn on? So you get some easy stuff like that here and there where everyone wants it and it's pretty simple, straightforward to get done. And then there's other things where you're trying to decide, you could go more advanced with features, you could go more beginner with features. So we really try to focus on the next set of requests is, let's make this device all around more easy to use. Cover some simple things like a bigger screen, better navigation for just accessibility in general, allowing people to move around the device. just make it easier to use. And then from there, we really try to focus on this feature set that allows you to grow with you as you're a beginner who's getting your first hardware wallet to you're a veteran and you're ready for, like I said, enabling air gap transactions with the camera. And so we wanted to build something that everyone could interface with in some way, and it could be the only hardware wallet for their entire journey if they wanted it to be.
I'm sure there was a lot of R&D that was put into releasing this version 2 of the Jade model, the Jade Plus. So maybe it's a good time to transition, Rich and Drew, if you can take us through, and some of our listeners are audio only as well, so just, I guess, keep that in mind. But can you maybe take us through some of the features of the Jade Plus? What's the user experience, some of the compatibility, security features. Can you take us through the product itself?
Yeah, I kind of divided these into certain feature sets and starting with the UX and the exterior and what the product is like, because I'm lucky enough to have gotten to play with one too. And so it just feels fantastic in the hand, and it's really a great user experience for a hardware. I mean, it's a tiny device. It's very portable. I think people do get attracted to the form factor of a device that they're using, starting with like your iPhone and things like that. It makes technology more appealing, more a user more willing to use it and to try it. So can you talk to us first about the UX, the size, design, navigation buttons, the screen, some of these, the camera that you were mentioning earlier? What are the physical attributes of the Jade Plus?
Yes, exactly like you said. The first thing we heard when we released the device is, wow, it's beautiful. And that really shows you that people are looking at just not security necessarily, but what is the form factor like? They want something that they can interact with, that they enjoy looking at, and they enjoy playing with. And so that is, seems silly at first when you're talking about a security device, but you also want it to be something easy to use. And so the first thing we did was we got to increase the screen size. Initially, it was a super compact device. It's actually very similar form factor to the Jade Plus, the Jade Classic was, but the screen was maybe 50% smaller. So obviously you want to boost readability, and hardware wallets are still in this weird phase of we're not sure what the form factor will look like in 10 years. And so you're seeing a lot of different, either no screens or tiny screens with tiny font. And we really wanted to kind of break that paradigm and make a really big screen and have we're one of the top biggest screens in the hardware wallet industry right now. And it's not even that massive. And so just thinking about stuff like that, where you want legibility and easy to navigate. And so screen size was boosted, a nice flush, flat, full glass display besides the front button. We added these 2 navigation buttons on top. Again, audio-only listeners, there's 2 navigation buttons on top that not only let you go left, right, but also a seamless, instead of the select button, you can also press the top 2 buttons at the same time. So offering some speed and navigating as well, just increasing the speed from the previous device. A nice metal form factor, so you get heavier weight in hand when you have that one. We have both a plastic and a metal form factor, aluminum. The camera, so you can do some cool things, which maybe get a little more advanced, but scan your seed phrase if you want to do a multi-sig, or scan QR code for transactions. All around, just making the device nice to look at, easy to use, because that's obviously going to be the first start, especially for beginners who just get a hardware wallet and aren't sure how to proceed.
Build with Bitcoin is a proud affiliate partner of River, a Bitcoin-only financial services company that I've personally been using for years. I really enjoy the strong focus they have on security and reliability, which ultimately leads to peace of mind. I know you're a big fan as well.
I am. I feel so confident referring people to River, in addition to what you mentioned. Also, they've got US-based phone support, which I think for somebody who's less familiar with the space or used to personal service is really helpful. In addition, they have a private client services division. So if you're looking to invest 100,000 or more, they have a special suite of services designed for you, whether you're a high net worth individual, a family office, or a trust. I also really appreciate the continued improvements they make in the back end so that reliability and security continues to be really apparent.
They additionally also have US dollar cash deposits paid out in Bitcoin. They have a yield product for that, which is an interesting alternative way of accumulating Bitcoin. Overall, fantastic suite of services. If you're interested in onboarding or opening up an account at River, use partner.river.com/buildwithbitcoin for personalized onboarding.
For connectivity to the Bitcoin blockchain, you've got a variety of ways to get onto the chain: USB, Bluetooth, the camera, and even an SD card that's a separate attachment to it. Can you explain why you incorporated so many different ways to connect. Was that feedback from the your user base, and which is the correct way for different people to connect?
Of course. Yeah, so with the first device, obviously USB and is great for most people that are used to it, and Bluetooth is really for a convenience thing, especially for mobile devices, iPhones, for example. It's very hard to get access to that USB port, and so we had Bluetooth for convenience there, and also, again, easy to use. Uh, Both of those are good for beginners, depending on if most people with a laptop use the USB cord. We don't have Bluetooth support for our devices on the computer right now, on desktop, laptop right now, but it's coming soon. And so USB usually for a desktop user. Bluetooth is nice for a phone. And again, like I said, iPhones are locked down on the USB port, so you can also use the camera. But the camera's a little bit more advanced, just a little bit more steps, and maybe more security focused in some people's minds, but not the first place you would want to go. And you have to do all this just for clarification. Like I said, the Bitcoin exists on the blockchain, which is on the internet. And this is specifically designed not to connect to the internet for security purposes. And so you need some sort of middleman here, which is a companion app, for example, that you're connecting with via Bluetooth, USB to talk to the internet via the companion app. But these two things are staying secure. And so that's why we have USB, Bluetooth, camera's a little bit more advanced, and then the SD card. The SD card was the only one we didn't have before. And so you mentioned, did we get requests and feedback about that? We did. It's pretty popular on several other devices, and there was no reason not to. There you go. No reason not to add it. And so we could have built that into the form factor here, but it's nice to have something like not over cluttering the device, keeping it simple and easy to use, and then selling either this additional attachment, or you can use just off-the-shelf SD card readers if you'd like to. Again, one more way to communicate with your companion app.
And talk about the middleman. So the middleman would be an app that, and I know that Blockstream has an app, but you can use other apps as well, correct?
Correct. Yes. Blockstream has Blockstream Green, which is our dedicated companion app to use with Blockstream Jade. It's nice to have an app to go along with Jade because we can have really nice setup tutorials and flows and show you images on screen, and things can communicate really well. But there's also a lot of popular third-party applications that Jade also works with. And so again, this is doing something to allow us to talk to the internet via our phone or our laptop, but not make our Jade or our hardware wallet talk to the internet for us. So we're kind of going through this to separate the secret private information from the internet.
And anything worth mentioning there on the security side as well, Rich and Drew? I mean, I know Blockstream is among the highest of security standards, but for listeners who might be worried about how this actually works when I connect to the blockchain, how safe is this to use? Anything you'd like to add there?
I think it goes back to Lynn's original question a little bit earlier. So like you mentioned, Blockstream has a great brand, which is great. That's awesome. But you don't need to listen to Rich or I. Like we're not trying to be salesmen here. Like don't trust us. You can read all of the code that goes into a Blockstream Jade and all of the code that goes into the Blockstream Green companion wallet. So we like the device, we like the app, but you don't need to trust us to. You can read the code yourself. It's completely open source.
And in terms of more a tangible security feature with Blockstream Jade Plus, we added, again, as Drew said, all the firmware and stuff is open source, very secure, no issues found. But we also added something with Jade Plus that allows you to make sure that this device is genuinely produced by Blockstream. And so we have a special key on here that lets us know whether or not this was a clone. If someone's trying to some malicious device was sent to you or something, we can make sure that this device was indeed manufactured by Blockstream.
That's a genuine check, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I did that when I set that up, and it verifies that. So there are circumstances. I mean, I think you can purchase the Jade Plus from Blockstream directly, but you also can purchase it through third-party distribution or buy it at a Bitcoin conference, or I think Amazon also sells them. I don't know, but Drew, maybe you can talk about the distribution points. And if you do, once you purchase a Blockstream Jade, that you can use this genuine check to ensure that it is in fact a true device.
Sure. Great question. So even on the original Jade, both Jades have what's called secure boot. So this only allows for Blockstream signed firmware to be uploaded to the device. So We just recommend everyone to, once they get a device, to upgrade to the latest firmware regardless. But this also ensures that Blockstream signed firmware is on the Jade. As for Rich's point of genuine check, so if you do buy your Jade on Amazon, because you want, for whatever reason, you do that, you would be able to plug the Jade Plus into your Blockstream Green wallet, and then you would be able to verify that the Blockstream Jade was manufactured by Blockstream. As for resellers, if you wanted to buy from a reseller, we have a designated page for all of our signed resellers. Each reseller has to sign an agreement. They break that agreement for whatever reason, other people and other jurisdictions and laws start getting involved. And so there's a disincentive to be malicious in that regard for resellers. And you can verify all that. They're all on our website.
Great. And as far as assets supported by the Jade Plus, Drew and Rich, can you get into what the compatibility is there on the assets that are kept within the Jade Plus?
Bitcoin and Liquid network tokens. You mentioned earlier that you talked to Adolfo, who is a business dev for the Liquid team. So we won't go in a deep dive on Liquid today, but the TLDR on Liquid is people are able to tokenize assets using a sidechain of Bitcoin. We're a Bitcoin-only company. We will only work with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the best for multiple reasons. But Jade is Bitcoin only.
So when we talk to Adolfo, we're talking about remaking capital markets on the Bitcoin blockchain using Liquid. So if you were to purchase one of these assets, MicroStrategy, I guess it would be strategy wrapped with Liquid, you could actually hold that on the Jade Plus. So here again, instead of just holding Bitcoin equivalent, eventually, if capital markets are remade, you can actually hold your investment portfolio on the Jade Plus or on the blockchain versus having to rely on a brokerage firm to hold that. Cool.
Which is bananas cool. Being able to trade MicroStrategy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no holidays is like the coolest thing of all time.
From self-custody.
Yeah, from self-custody. So bullish.
There's quite a few paradigm shifts in just that one or two sentences there as far as the impact of some of these these disruptions in the financial markets. Anything else you want to cover as far as the Jade Plus itself, as far as other features, anything that we haven't gone through, maybe on the software side?
She would like for you to talk, if you would, about the multi-sig support and mini-script support, which is perhaps a little bit more advanced, but I think a lot of our audience also will be interested in this as it maybe pertains to inheritance planning or just additional layer of security, where if I am worried that I might get hit by a bus and who can access my Bitcoin, and if it's on this device and I'm the only one who knows the keys to this, how does that work? And how did you roll out that support for it?
Great question. You go, Rich.
Sure. Yeah. So multi-sig, let's take the same analogy from earlier where you need a key to unlock your safe. Multi-sig just means you need multiple keys to unlock that same safe. And you can have different setups where it's 2 out of 3 keys have to unlock it for the Bitcoin to move, or 3 out of 5. And so Jade natively supports multi-sig, and it has some cool features that make it even easier for you to use. So one of these things is you want to make sure that you are aware of all the other keys in the wallet. And so Jade will save all this data to your device. And I think a feature that maybe is unique to Jade is we allow you to export that data back. And so if you ever want to build your multi-sig wallet in another software, you need not only the keys, the 2 out of 3 keys, but you also need the special extra piece of information about the rest of the keys. And so Jade will save that information to your device for you. And so, again, if I'm not around and I need someone else to access my funds and I had a 2 of 3 or something, they could do that if they had 2 other Jades with this piece of data and rebuild it. And so there's some other cool things you can do there with inheritance, like you mentioned, Lynn. Miniscript is also supported by Jade, and you have a lot of cool platforms popping up out there that are using it. And this could be something even more interesting, like only I can use this key to unlock my Bitcoin for 5 years, but after 5 years, the key goes to my wife or something. And so your Bitcoin can just stay in the control of who you want to stay in control of, unless something happens to you and there's some time duration involved that allows the Bitcoin to be accessible by someone else. So again, that is supported by Jade as well.
If you don't mind, I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit more about Miniscript. So on the there a lot of coins will come out and say, "Hey, we have smart contracting," and they'll use this buzzword of smart contracts. It is not, they did not reinvent the wheel. Smart contracts have been on Bitcoin since day one. Now, with that said, smart contracts have been relatively difficult to create on the Bitcoin blockchain. With Miniscript, this is a new upgrade to Bitcoin. A couple developers at Blockstream actually developed this, and with Miniscript, it allows smart contracting on Bitcoin to be much easier and easier to deploy and easier for the end user to actually use. So to Rich's example earlier, for him to have set that up prior to Miniscript would have taken a real developer, real time, and there was a lot of mess ups that could have happened along the way. With Miniscript, Rich and I, not the two brightest guys in the world, are able to set up these very advanced smart contracting programs to allow us to make this inheritance plan, whereas we couldn't before.
You have tutorials available to help Jade Plus users do that?
Yes. Well, yeah. So, shameless plug here. For Blockstream, I have a video series called Deciphered. And each one of these videos, we do an explainer of how to use X application with Jade or other products at Blockstream. And one of them is using Jade with the Liana wallet, which is designated for Miniscript planning.
Okay, great. Well, we'll include that in the show notes as well, Drew. Thanks for that mention. Yeah, I mean, I think people still underestimate just the amount of the amount of features that are being added to custody setups with Bitcoin. Just being digital in nature just makes it so much more agile. I mean, to your Miniscript mention there, Drew, we had an episode with Anchor Watch, for example, and they were, talking about their innovative approach to insurance and how they incorporate Miniscript into their inheritance planning. We've had a recent episode with Jameson Lopp, who's a security expert as well, talking about some of these features that, Bitcoin, that people are just not quite understanding yet, right? That it actually can lead to, Jameson was talking about that specifically, to a more robust security setup than a physical custody model, right? So anyways, I think Bitcoin is definitely going to teach us a lot about self-custody just generally in the coming years. It'll be interesting. I mean, it kind of makes you think, if Bitcoin, or I'm sorry, if gold was easier to custody, would more people use gold? If hard cash didn't inflate away so fast, would more people hold hard cash? I think some of these trends going forward with a digital commodity like Bitcoin are going to be super interesting to see. And kind of speaking of to trends and where this is going, this whole self-custody aspect of Bitcoin. What can you tell us about the initial rollout of Jade Plus, and maybe even, all dating back to the original Jade? Any self-custody trends that you're seeing? I mean, or metrics specific to the Jade Plus? Where are you seeing the rollout? Any geographic concentration of users asking for this product? I guess, anything you can share with us.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing a lot of when we published the fact that Jade could be DIY'd for $10, that was like one of our most popular posts. And it's really cool to see like the fact that these are so much more accessible now. Drew has to deal with shipping to some places in Latin America, and it's like $200 just in tariffs to like get a Jade Plus there. And so the fact that it's more accessible to places all over the world is just, it shows you like there is demand there for holding your own assets with something like a hardware wallet. And so it's really cool to see that we're definitely seeing interest all over the world. And it's really cool, again, to allow something to be that accessible. You're seeing some trends with the security side of it that are interesting, a lot more moving towards redundancy and Miniscript and Multi-Sig. For a while, you were seeing this BIP39 passphrases, if you're familiar. It's like an extra little password that goes on top of your key. And these are just so much user error with them. It's like you wanted to have a Multi-Sig without a true Multi-Sig. And so you need your recovery phrase, your 12 or 24 words, and this extra data. But the extra data can be anything you want. And so people are, typing in their password of Bitcoin 123, and you're seeing one wallet, and you see Bitcoin 1234 typing as your other passphrase, and you see a different wallet. And so one little typo there and you're missing, potentially a lot of money. And so things are maturing a lot. You're seeing, like you mentioned, Anchor Watch. The fact that we have real insurance in the space now is amazing to see. And so again, I think we're coming out of this kind of cypherpunky, super technical and advanced to going towards more mature trends that everyone can get involved in.
And just in terms of demand itself, I mean, I think we're in a really interesting inflection point at Bitcoin where more and more people are understanding it. I think there's a greater acceptance by people in traditional finance. The ETFs opened up an entire new market. But I think any of us who have been in the Bitcoin space for a while understand the importance of self-sovereignty. And that's one of the true benefits of Bitcoin, is that you can hold your wealth yourself, which this device allows us to do. But are you seeing demand from, I mean, do people tend to be going either I want the ETF or I want self-custody, or more people, is it like a learning curve that the longer the time you have exposure to Bitcoin, the asset, that you start understanding the importance of self-sovereignty and move toward a hardwood wallet? Or how do you guys help educate Bitcoin owners into this move to self-sovereignty?
An awesome
I don't know if
question.
that was a very clear question.
No, it was an awesome question. It really was. So, I mean, we could use all of ourselves as an example. So Rich and I said we got into Bitcoin in 2017. And when we first got into it, we weren't taking self-custody of our Bitcoin or our cryptos or, the future, right? I'd say that sarcastically. And the same applies for ETFs. We're not trying to rush people along into self-custody, trying to fear-monger them, saying, oh, you have to do this right now, or otherwise you're not going to be self-sovereign and you're going to have all your money taken away. That is a risk that people need to understand with anything that's not self-custody. But take it slow. Take a deep breath. You don't need to rush along this. Rich and I help out these support tickets, and the amount of support tickets that we get, almost on a daily basis of where's my money. And it's just like, well, if you just took 5 minutes to understand what's taking self-custody is, you would have actually recorded your seed phrase down and you would have kept it in a proper location rather than taking a picture, getting a new phone, and then losing the picture, thus losing the seed phrase, and no longer your funds are there. So that's a benefit to the ETFs. It allows people to get exposure to Bitcoin and them not lose the price appreciation. But over time, as they do understand what Bitcoin is and that ETFs are not truly Bitcoin, that's when we start having the conversation with them and saying, hey, self-custody is really cool for X, Y, and Z reasons. You should probably start thinking about it a little bit more seriously now.
And for those who are ready to take it seriously, Drew and Rich, can you maybe break down the setup process very briefly for us? I mean, once I receive my Jade Plus, what's the actual 1, 2, 3 steps until I have it fully set up?
Yes, so just the simple route. When you get your Jade, the first thing you're going to see is your secret recovery phrase, your seed phrase. There's 12 or 24 words that are just a human readable version of your secret key that I was describing earlier with the vaults and unlocking moving your Bitcoin. And so you'll back up this secret key, again, in the form of these 12 or 24 words, and then you can pair with a companion app. So we have, again, Blockstream Green, which is our dedicated app. When you go through there, you'll just see Connect Jade. We have a really nice setup process where we're guiding you along. Make sure you write down your recovery phrase, write down or create a pin, and then you're connected to the app. Again, then from there on, it's as easy as opening Green, entering your pin on Jade, and you're ready to go generate receive addresses or send funds. And so it really is, make sure you have the secret key set up, and everything else after that is just is extra.
I'm really curious about the whole process, just kind of going back to open source and Blockstream as a company. How do you develop and where do you manufacture the devices? Like, what is the development I know Blockstream's a big company, but how big is the team that develops the Jade, and where is it actually manufactured?
There's a team of about, 5 of us, 6 of us. There's a couple developers, a couple designated marketers, and Rich is our product manager. The device is manufactured in China. It is flashed by Blockstream. So we are the ones that flash it, and then we warehouse the units. We actually just got warehousing in Europe, so that helps with import fees to our EU friends and shipping times there. And then also we warehouse in North America to ship around the world.
Regarding pricing and availability, Rich and Drew, can you give us a sense of, what the user's looking at there?
Yeah, so we have the Jade Classic starting at $79. We have the Jade Plus at $149 and the Jade Plus Metal at $169. Basically, Drew, we're shipping all over the world. We have free shipping for certain regions. I'll let you take it from there to explain.
Yes. So free shipping for the Jade Plus internationally, which is really helpful for our friends in very far locations. Because for shipping just a standard Jade, it'll, if you live in Australia and we have to ship to you from North America, shipping a classic Jade is going to cost about $50. So with the Jade Plus, we cover that cost for you.
And anything else you guys want to include, or anything that we've missed asking you?
What do you, how did you get into Bitcoin?
Well, it's funny what you mentioned earlier, Drew, that, we kind of all start at the same point. Maybe in the future, it'll just be so easy that for those who want to start straight to self-custody, they will be able to. And I do believe that will be the case. But I particularly, share some of the background insights that you both shared. When I first decided I wanted to own Bitcoin, I held it at an exchange. It was only through going through a little bit of that learning curve that you eventually you do understand that everything has risks, and including especially at some of these early exchanges from a few years back. But everything has risk, right? And the Bitcoin just gives you that optionality to be able to take ownership of your own money. So, to answer your question though, Drew, I originally started a business for remittances in 2014 using the Bitcoin network. So that was just to get in and out of fiat through more efficient rails. So that borderless technological breakthrough is what first attracted me to Bitcoin. And then, you kind of, as you both, we kind of go very deep from there. And, fast forward, here we are. Lynn, how about you?
Yeah. Well, I was introduced to it in 2012, and I come from a traditional finance background. December 2012, I was talking to a speaker at a conference I was running on early stage tech, and they had launched CoinDesk, the information source. And it took me a while because in my TradFi mindset, I had to buy it on an exchange. And so I was living in Mexico. I tried to open a Coinbase account, which had just opened. And I had to physically go to the US to, I don't know, I didn't have a VPN set up correctly or something. So, but bought it in 2013 and kept it on the exchange for a while. And so there were no other cryptos at the time. And so as they evolved, I was curious from a technology standpoint and bought Ethereum on the launch and a couple other, many others, just being curious about the technology, but came back to Bitcoin. And of course, the more you learn about it, it's, you do understand that one of the key aspects of it is the ability to trade peer to peer and not have a third party be in the middle of everything. So, that's where, the journey into self-sovereignty and, hot wallets, hardware wallets, but it's, I think my journey has evolved. I was actually talking to someone from Cornell University last week, just being part of a survey that they're doing on Bitcoin ownership, and they were asking about wallets, and I'm like, well, I kind of have one of each because I'm so curious about them that I play with all the software wallets and all the hardware wallets because I just love to see what's out there, and it's fantastic. It's like the Jade Plus. I love this device. I love the form factor. It's super easy to use. The screen is great. It's a really attractive, bright screen. And, I think that we just keep, like you said, we don't know what it's going to look like in 10 years, but I think that the evolution and the ease of use and being, sensitive. I mean, the early holders of Bitcoin on these devices were very technical people that could put up with a lot of the inconveniences or trade-offs. But as we get into more mainstream adoption, I think having an attractive, easy to use, intuitive device becomes so much more important to really making this journey to self-sovereignty more accessible and less frightening to the average user. So congratulations on just creating a really magnificent, form factor and device for this.
And I really do encourage anyone listening to try to just test out what this self-custody feels like and what it enables you to do. I mean, I think there's just such a powerful component of having that device in your hand, knowing that this money is stored offline, and when you sign a transaction, it's you and only you who's authorizing this, right? And I don't mean this to sound like a sales pitch. I mean, to be clear, we have no affiliation with Jade Plus or Blockstream, but I mean, as we were talking through all of this, it brought back some memories of I first studied Bitcoin enough to grow interested to the point where I tried to co-found a company and solve this remittance issue, but I can honestly say that a real aha moment for me, or just the power of this technology for me, was the first time that I used Bitcoin on chain signing through a self-custody hardware wallet. I mean, there's just something very powerful about truly being able to transact peer to peer in that fashion, right? So, all that just to say, I do encourage people to try this out if you haven't. I mean, you were kind of mentioning earlier, Drew, you said we're not trying to push anyone towards self-custody, but I mean, the beauty of this is it's just getting so much more accessible, from the Jade to the Jade Plus. I mean, just physically as well, design wise. I mean, you can see how much more, it's just a much more sleek device, right? I mean, it's getting, I think, just a lot more friendly and nice to use as well. But yeah, thanks for going through. We appreciate you both taking the time to go through, the features, what Jade Plus is, and the significance of self custody.
Thank you for having us. This was a lot of fun. You're bringing a small tear to my eye, just saying, the aha moment was self custody. I mean, geez Louise.
I was recently down at the Plan B in El Salvador, where I got to meet Adam Back, your CEO,
Nice.
which was a highlight of my Bitcoin life, but you guys had a booth there with devices. Can you kind of, as a sign off, just let people know where they can find either you individually or the Blockstream Jade Plus team? Will you guys be at any upcoming conferences that people can actually take a look at the device? Sometimes people like to hold it and feel it before they purchase it. So share with us some ways to reach you.
Absolutely. We have Blockstream Jade Twitter X handle, sorry, Elon, X handle at Blockstream Jade. And we will be at not Nashville, Bitcoin Las Vegas in May. We'll be out and about. You won't miss us. Let's just say it that way.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, and anywhere you'd like to direct your own personal X account, or where people can find you specifically?
My X account is fishing for sats. Bitcoin's in everything of mine.
Mine's terrible. Bitcoin__help. And you'll see just a ton of Jade posts, so you'll know it's me.
Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. And great to connect with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was fun. We'll see you soon in Vegas.
Thanks for listening to the Build with Bitcoin podcast. If you found benefit in what you heard in this episode, we'd truly appreciate it if you would like, share, or leave a comment on whichever platform you're listening, as this helps others find us, which is especially important for a new podcast. And as a reminder, our content is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not to be considered investment advice or recommendation to invest in any company or asset mentioned in the podcast. Build with Bitcoin is a proud affiliate partner of River, a full-service, 100% reserve custody, Bitcoin-only financial services company. For your next Bitcoin purchase, use our exclusive link, partner.river.com/buildwithbitcoin. Thank you sincerely for being a part of the Build with Bitcoin community.